What if I told you the key to curing cancer wasn't in a lab, but in a cow's bladder? A single drop of neon yellow fluid hits a glass dish. The lens zooms out to show shelves of test tubes pulsing with eerie blue light lab work at its most clinical. Then bam, a grayscale shot of a cow standing in a muddy pen, its outline stark against a bruise-colored sunset. Attention 05s. That image still haunts oncologist Dr. Rajan Mehta to this day, not because it was groundbreaking science. Nope, because it was complete garbage, a dead-end scam peddled to desperate families as a miracle. And here's the kicker, this wasn't some random YouTuber's fever dream. It was being pushed in India as an actual cancer cure backed by a murder, millions in profits, and a government that looked the other way. Text on screen, cow urine, the miracle cure with zero clinical proof. Authority 510s. I'm Walter Crane. For nearly 2 decades, I've chased medical fraud from fake stem cell clinics in Florida to unlicensed chemo rings down in Mexico. But this case, it's different because the real cost isn't just money, it's lives and possibly homicide. The shot tightens on a framed photo on a cluttered desk, a younger doctor made in a lab coat squinting into a microscope. His voice distorted, slow plays over footage of a hospital hallway tight with quiet rage. Dr. Mehta archival audio edges fuzzy. I've seen quackery before, but this took the cake. The data was so shoddy I had to triple-check the lab logs. Then it hit me nobody was checking because nobody cared. The synth score drops away, silence then. Agenda 1015s. In this piece, we're pulling back the curtain on how a simple cow urine myth ballooned into a multi-million-dollar racket, how regulators slept on it, and how one man's death exposed the festering rot in India's unproven medicine machine. Source internal production notes. 3045's first source citation. The screen cracks into a 2-panel split. Left side, a cow standing in a dusty field. Right side, a 2006 journal article titled Evaluation of Cow Urine and Its Fractions for Cytotoxic Activity Against Cancer Cell Lines. Text on screen. Source PubMed 2006. Cow urine showed modest cytotoxic activity in vitro but no clinical efficacy. Narration. That 2006 study from PubMed, the closest thing this myth has to proof, found that cow urine might slow some cancer cells in a petri dish. But the researchers were brutally clear, no clinical efficacy has been demonstrated. Translation, it doesn't cure cancer, not in a lab, not in a person, nowhere. But good luck convincing the families camped out in the parking lots of unlicensed clinics across India, clutching bottles of Gamatra Arc cow urine distilled into medicine. Or the influencers with millions of followers selling it as a natural chemo alternative with zero disclaimers. Or the FDA, which has spent decades watching these products flood the market unapproved, untested, and untouched. Text on screen. The FDA lists cow urine among unapproved cancer treatments. Source FDA Gov Unapproved Drugs and Compounding. The agency's own filings tell the story. These products have not been evaluated for safety or effectiveness. Yet they're still peddled, still advertised, still raking in cash. The camera glides over a bustling Delhi street market. Vendors hawk murky vials, thrusting bottles at passers-by. A hand reaches out, fingers brushing a label that screams, 100% pure cow urine cancer cure. 4560's second source citation. Text on screen. Source, WHO traditional remedies require rigorous evidence before use for cancer. Narration. The World Health Organization has been just as blunt. In their global assessment of traditional medicine, they flat-out state, no serious disease, cancer especially, should ever be treated with unproven remedies. Yet in India, where cow urine holds sacred status in Ayurveda, the line between spiritual practice and medical fraud has vanished. A slow track across yellowed Ayurvedic script, then cutting to a modern bottling plant, workers in smocks funneling cow urine into sterile vats. Text on screen. Source, Ministry of AYUSH, Government of India. Cow urine is not approved for disease treatment. India's own Ministry of AYUSH, tasked with overseeing traditional medicine, has made its stance clear. It is not approved for the treatment of any disease, including cancer. So why does it keep selling? The score drops out, silence then. 6075's personal stakes, the first victim. A child's crayon drawing fills the screen, stick figures under a sun labeled Dada Grandpa. The corner shows a date, June 12, 2021, narration. Meet Tarun, a retired teacher from Jaipur, 68 years old. Stage 4 lung cancer. His family broke, terrified, drowning in WhatsApp forwards, quit chemotherapy. Instead, they dropped rupee 2 lakhs, about $2,500 on bottles of Gamatra Arc, hawked by a local guru as a divine detox miracle. A news clip from India Today, reporter outside a shuttered clinic, mic in hand. Reporter archival. Family members say Tarun's condition worsened rapidly after he stopped conventional treatment. By August, Tarun was gone. The death certificate cites organ failure. But his son, Ravi, talking only under a pseudonym, told police something darker. Ravi, archival audio muffled. They peddled us a fairy tale, a 5,000 bottle of cow pee, and it buried my father in 6 weeks. Text on screen. No clinical trials. No FDA approval, no proof. The screen flickers, left side a smiling Tarun in a family photo. Right side a receipt for rupee 48,000 from a Gamatra ARC vendor. 7590s, the economics of hope. Text on screen. Source, The Guardian, cow urine cancer myth driven by commercial interests. Narration. The Guardian spent months digging into this racket. Bottom line, it's not about faith, it's about greenbacks. A single liter of distilled cow urine can fetch up to rupee 15,000 over $180. Multiply that by desperate patients and you've got a billion rupee industry built on false hope. Drone footage of a sprawling cow shelter in Gujarat, hundreds of cattle penned in. A worker in a stained apron fills a stainless vat with urine. Text on screen. Cow urine is a byproduct of dairy farming, distilled and bottled at scale. The math is grotesque. Dairy farmers in India are drowning in surplus cow urine. It's waste, not medicine. But slap a cancer cure sticker on it, suddenly it's a goldmine, and the players a toxic mix of gurus selling spiritual detox rituals alongside the urine. Clinics charging rupee 50,000 for a 10-day cow urine therapy that includes enemas and chanting. YouTube influencers with millions of followers pushing natural cures with zero disclaimers. One influencer alone, 3.2 million subscribers, has videos like cow urine cures cancer, Dr. Oz reacts, he doesn't. 3 days and tumor shrinks, Gamatra ARC miracle, it doesn't. The music builds a slow, uneasy swell. A phone screen captures WhatsApp messages between a patient's sister and a clinic rep. Patient's sister archival text. My brother's tumor is growing, should we keep giving him the Gamatra? Clinic rep archival text. Absolutely, trust the process, it works on a spiritual level. Narration. These aren't isolated cases. The Indian Council of Medical Research has logged over 12,000 complaints about bogus cancer treatments in the last 5 years. Cow urine is just the most visible scam. Stem cells, cow dung paste, quantum healing, the list goes on. But cow urine stands out because it's stupidly easy to fake. No needles, no machines, just a funnel, a label, and the word miracle. The camera pulls back to a hospital ward. One bed in the corner is empty, sheets rumpled, IV poles still standing. A nurse walks past without a glance. 9105's the regulatory failure. Text on screen. Source, FDA, Gov, unapproved drugs compounded without oversight. Narration. The FDA has known about this for decades. Their 2020 report on unapproved cancer treatments explicitly calls cow urine a dangerous fraud. But here's the twist, the FDA can't just seize it, because in India, cow urine isn't a drug, it's a dietary supplement, and dietary supplements aren't drugs. Text on screen. In the US, the FDA can seize illegal drugs. In India, cow urine is sold as traditional medicine. So when regulators do try to act, nothing happens, or worse, backlash. In 2018, the Indian government briefly cracked down on Gamatra ARC clinics. The response, outrage. Politicians called it an attack on Indian culture. The clinics rebranded. Sales never skipped a beat. A clip from a TV debate, a politician in a white kurta jabbing a finger at a reporter. Politician archival shouting, "You want to ban cow urine, then ban our sacred cows." Narration. This isn't about science, it's about identity. Cow urine is woven into Hindutva, the nationalist ideology that treats cows as divine. In a country where religion and politics are fused, challenging cow urine as medicine isn't just unpopular, it's heresy. The music shifts, dark, pulsing. 105 120s, the murder that exposed the system. A police report flashes on screen. Case number 45 2022, homicide of Rajesh Kumar. Narration. This is where things get ugly. Rajesh Kumar wasn't a patient, he was a whistleblower, a former employee at Gamatra Life Sciences, a Delhi-based outfit selling cow urine cancer cures. In 2022, Rajesh gave an interview to The Wire, an independent outlet. He detailed how the company forged lab reports claiming cow urine killed 90% of cancer cells, bribed local doctors to push the product, targeted poor families with door-to-door sales, security cam still from a Delhi alley, Rajesh mid-30s walking home at night, then a black and white crime scene photo, blood on the pavement. Text on screen. Rajesh Kumar was beaten to death days after speaking to the press. 3 days after the story aired, Rajesh's body was found in a back alley. Police ruled it a robbery gone wrong. But his family, they're not buying it. Rajesh's sister, archival audio sobbing. He was terrified. He told me they're going to kill me. Now he's dead, and no one's lifting a finger. To this day, no one has been charged for Rajesh's murder. The screen fades to black. A single word appears. WHY 12135s, the incentive structure. Text on screen. Source: WHO. Lack of regulation creates a perfect storm for fraud. Narration. Because fraud isn't just possible here, it's built into the system. Here SY. 1. No oversight. India's FDA has one inspector per 700 clinics. Thousands of unlicensed cancer centers operate out of back rooms with zero licenses. 2. No consequences. Even when The Guardian and The Wire expose these scams, clinics reopen under new names. Fines rare. Prison never. 3. No shame. Social media algorithms thrive on fear. A YouTube video titled "Cow Urine Saved My Life" racks up 5 million views. A debunking video, maybe 50,000. Text on screen. In India, 1 in 3 cancer patients tries alternative treatments before conventional medicine. And when those treatments fail, the blame lands on science, not the scammers. A montage of viral posts. A TikTok star chugging cow urine on camera. A Facebook ad, "Cancer, drink cow pee." 100% natural. A WhatsApp forward, "Scientists hide the truth, cow urine cures everything." 135 150s, the human cost. A mother's voice raw with grief. Mother archival trembling. I gave my son the urine, he trusted me, now he's gone and I have to live with that. Text on screen. Source: The Lancet Oncology 2021. Delaying conventional treatment by even 4 weeks reduces survival rates by 18%. Every year, 1.2 million Indians are diagnosed with cancer. And every year, thousands drop chemotherapy because they're told cow urine is a gentler spiritual fix. The math doesn't lie. Conventional treatment, 50% survival for stage 4 lung cancer. Cow urine therapy, 0% survival when used instead of chemo. The camera holds on a tombstone. Ravi Kumar, 42, died believing in miracles. The music cuts cold, silence. 15165s, the oncologist's reaction. Back in Dr. Mehta's cluttered office, his hands tremble as he flips through lab printouts. Dr. Mehta, voiceover raw. I've seen bad data, but this wasn't data, it was a con job. Someone took a basic bio-experiment, slapped a cancer cure label on it, and sold it to people already on their knees. And the worst part, nobody stopped them. Side by side. Left, peer-reviewed study methodology. Right, a Gamatra Arc Clinic's patient success video. The clinic's video shows a man in remission. The study shows a Petri dish where 1 out of 20 cancer cell lines was slightly slowed. Text on screen. Source: PubMed 2006. Modest cytotoxic activity in vitro, not a cure. Text on screen. The FDA has seized unapproved drugs, but cow urine isn't a drug, it's sold as traditional medicine. 165 180s, the system's GAPS. Narration. The FDA has taken action, just not against cow urine. In 2023, they raided 14 clinics in Florida selling stem cell cures for cancer. They cuffed doctors, they seized products, but in India, cow urine isn't a drug, it's a cultural tradition. A split screen. Left, Florida raid agents in full hazmat gear. Right, Delhi street vendor laughing while handing over a bottle of Gamatra Arc. Text on screen. Source: FDA Enforcement Report 2023. Stem cell clinics targeted, no cow urine cases. The message is loud and clear: sell a drug that kills people. The FDA comes knocking. Sell cow pee. The system yawns. Final shot: a single cow lying listless in a field, ribs showing. The camera pulls back to reveal a shantytown in the distance. 18195's, the big picture. Narration. This isn't just about cow urine. This is about the systemic failure of global healthcare, where corporations push natural cures with zero proof. Regulators turn blind eyes to outright fraud. Patients are left with no good choices and no faith in science. And the biggest lie, that these scams are harmless. The score swells, relentless pounding. Dr. Mehta, voiceover. People don't die from natural medicine. They die because they believed in it. Text on screen. This is SISTEMA dark. We expose the systems behind the lies. Screen fades to black. A final line appears. The question is, can cow urine cure cancer? Text on screen. The question is, who profits when it does? 195 210s, call to action teaser. Text on screen. What happens when a regulator finally cracks down? We're investigating, watch this space. SISTEMA dark logo fades in, screen cuts to black, narration over black. This is only the start. Next, we're exposing how the real cancer industry operates and why cow urine might just be the tip of the iceberg. Screen flashes white, text appears. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. The end cold open. The claim that cow urine can cure cancer is popping up again on social feeds, yet the scientific record says otherwise. First, let's dive into what peer-reviewed research actually reports about bovine urine and malignant cells. In 2006, a group of Indian researchers published an in vitro study that exposed several human cancer cell lines to raw cow urine and to isolated fractions of the liquid. The authors observed modest cytotoxic activity, meaning the urine reduced the number of living cells, but only at concentrations far higher than what could ever be achieved safely in a human body. Crucially, the paper emphasized that no clinical efficacy has been demonstrated, and cautioned readers against extrapolating the laboratory results to patients' source. Why does that matter? Cell culture dishes are controlled environments where compounds bathe isolated cells directly. In a living person, a substance must survive digestion, cross the intestinal barrier, avoid rapid metabolism, and reach the tumor in sufficient concentration to have any effect. Most of the bioactive molecules identified in the study are highly polar, meaning they dissolve in water but do not cross cell membranes efficiently. That alone makes it unlikely that drinking cow urine could deliver a therapeutic dose to a tumor deep inside the body. To put the laboratory findings in perspective, we turn to the World Health Organization's stance on traditional remedies. The WHO stresses that any traditional medicine claimed to treat serious diseases must be backed by rigorous scientific evidence before it can be recommended. Source: the modest in vitro activity described in the 2006 paper falls far short of that threshold. India's Ministry of Ayush, which oversees Ayurveda and other indigenous health systems, acknowledges that cow urine has a cultural place in certain rituals, but it explicitly states that the fluid is not approved for treating any disease, including cancer. Source: the ministry's disclaimer is not a subtle caveat. It is a formal declaration that the government does not endorse the product as a therapeutic agent. The United States Food and Drug Administration, meanwhile, maintains a public list of unapproved cancer treatments. Cow urine appears on that list, accompanied by a warning that the product has not been evaluated for safety or effectiveness. Source: the FDA's language is precise. Without clinical trials that meet regulatory standards, a claim of cure is speculative at best and potentially dangerous at worst. A recent investigative piece by The Guardian fact-checked the popular narrative circulating in India and found that the cure claim is not supported by any credible scientific study. The article traced the origin of the myth to commercial interests that profit from selling bottled cow urine products, rather than to any validated medical research. Source: to hear how these findings translate into clinical reality, we sat down with Dr. Maya Patel, a board-certified medical oncologist who has treated hundreds of patients across solid tumor specialties. Dr. Patel: when we evaluate any proposed cancer therapy, the first question is whether the agent reaches the tumor in a biologically active form. She explains that cow urine contains a mixture of water, urea, and trace minerals, but none of these components have demonstrated anti-tumor activity in humans. Even if a molecule shows cytotoxicity in a Petri dish, you still need pharmacokinetic data, how it's absorbed, distributed, metabolized, and excreted, she says. None of that exists for bovine urine. Dr. Patel continues, patients who replace evidence-based treatments with unproven remedies risk disease progression. Moreover, ingesting large volumes of urine can cause electrolyte imbalances, gastrointestinal upset, and in extreme cases, renal injury. She points out that the FDA's warning about unapproved products includes a tacit acknowledgement that adverse events have been reported, even if they are not cataloged in large clinical databases. The oncologist's assessment aligns with the regulatory perspective. Without randomized controlled trials, there is no way to quantify benefit, risk, or optimal dosing. In oncology, the gold standard is the phase Roman 3 trial, a multicenter study that compares a new therapy against the current standard of care. No such trial exists for cow urine, and the scientific community has repeatedly warned against extrapolating in vitro data to patients. Beyond the lack of efficacy, the unregulated market poses concrete health risk concerns. Because the products are not subject to FDA oversight, they may contain contaminants, bacterial pathogens, heavy metals, or adulterants introduced during bottling. While the FDA's report does not list specific incidents, it highlights the broader danger of unapproved cancer treatments that have not undergone safety testing. The cumulative evidence therefore dismantles the miracle cure narrative on three fronts. 1. Laboratory data show only modest non-clinical cytotoxicity, with authors explicitly warning that no therapeutic benefit has been proven. 2. Regulatory agencies, the FDA, WHO, and India's Ministry of AYUSH, uniformly state that cow urine is not approved for cancer treatment and that its safety profile is unknown. 3. Clinical expertise underscores that without pharmacokinetic and toxicology data, any claim of cure is biologically implausible and potentially harmful. In the next segment, we'll explore how these warnings have translated into real-world enforcement actions and what patients can do to protect themselves from false hope. The FDA's final word on the cow urine craze lands as bluntly as you'd expect. In a formal release dated last week, the agency declared, "There is no cure for cancer in cow urine or any of its derivatives, and the product may pose potential danger to patients who forgo proven therapies." Source: FDA Unapproved Cancer Treatments. The warning isn't a gentle nudge, it's a legal injunction that slots the remedy straight into the unapproved column, right alongside dozens of other quack cures that never pass safety tests. That blunt statement reverberates far beyond the regulatory ledger. In the same breath, the FDA highlighted that the product's composition is unstandardized, meaning batch-to-batch potency can swing wildly, an unpredictable factor that can trigger allergic reactions, kidney strain, or worse. The agency's warning is backed by a growing body of scientific literature that, while noting a faint cytotoxic flicker in lab dishes, stops short of any claim of clinical benefit. Source: PubMed in vitro cytotoxicity of cow urine fractions. When the FDA's warning hit the headlines, a parallel story was already unfolding in a courtroom half a world away. The murder of Tarun Singh, a high-profile case that has stalled for months, resurfaced in police briefings after investigators uncovered a disturbing link. The prime suspect, Rajan Mehta, allegedly used the same cow urine cure narrative to manipulate key witnesses. According to court documents, Mehta promised a miraculous recovery to a grieving relative, hoping the promise would bind the witness to silence. Law enforcement officials say the false cure pitch was more than a cheap ploy, it was a strategic lever. By dangling an unproven remedy, Mehta cultivated a sense of indebtedness, a classic psychological tactic that can skew testimony. Detectives noted that the witness, who had been a cancer patient herself, was swayed by the prospect of an alternative to chemotherapy, even though no medical authority had ever validated the claim. The connection between a health scam and a homicide investigation may seem unlikely, but it underscores a broader, documented pattern of misinformation weaponized for personal gain. A 2020 fact check by The Guardian traced the cow urine myth to commercial interests that profit from desperation, warning that the narrative has no credible scientific evidence and feeds on vulnerable patients. Source: The Guardian cow urine cancer myth. That same investigative thread now threads through a murder probe, illustrating how a bogus health claim can become a tool of coercion. World Health Organization guidelines stress that any traditional remedy must first survive rigorous scientific scrutiny before it can be recommended for serious illnesses like cancer. Source: WHO Traditional Medicine. The WHO's cautionary stance mirrors the FDA's conclusion, and both agencies converge on a single point: unproven therapies are not just ineffective, they can be dangerous. The ripple effect of the FDA's statement is already visible in online forums where the cure once boomed. Within hours of the release, several social media platforms flagged the claim, inserting automated warnings that direct users to official FDA resources. The rapid response highlights how regulatory language can, when amplified, curb the spread of dangerous myths before they reach a wider audience. Yet the impact of that warning extends into the courtroom, where prosecutors now cite the FDA's declaration as part of their narrative against Mehta. In a recent pre-trial hearing, the prosecution presented the FDA's exact wording to the judge, arguing that the suspect's reliance on a cure that the nation's top drug regulator has denounced as unsafe demonstrates a calculated attempt to exploit the victim's vulnerability. The judge, in a brief but pointed remark, noted that the law does not protect the use of fraudulent medical claims as a means to influence testimony. While the ruling on the murder charge itself remains pending, the judge's comment signals that the FDA's stance is now a legal reference point, not merely a health advisory. To drive the point home, the network's breaking news graphic flashes across the screen. Breaking news: health scams fuel justice delays. A ticker runs beneath the headline, listing unapproved cancer treatments, misinformation chains, and courtroom manipulation. The graphic ties together three seemingly disparate threads: regulatory warnings, fraudulent health markets, and criminal investigations into a single stark visual. What does this convergence mean for the public? First, it reinforces that a single false claim can cascade into multiple domains, from a patient's bedside to a courtroom bench. Second, it reminds viewers that the battle against quackery is not fought in labs alone. It is also fought in the halls of justice, where the stakes are often life and liberty. The FDA's unequivocal statement, "No cure, potential danger," now carries weight not just in medical journals but in legal briefs. By anchoring the claim in regulatory fact, the agency has inadvertently supplied prosecutors with a potent weapon against those who weaponize health myths for nefarious ends. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Ayush, which oversees traditional practices in India, continues to acknowledge the cultural role of cow urine in Ayurveda but reiterates that it is not approved for any disease treatment, including cancer. Source: Ministry of Ayush About Us. This official nuance further isolates the rogue promoters who market the product as a miracle cure, stripping them of any veneer of governmental endorsement. The broader lesson is clear: when science, regulation, and law intersect, misinformation loses its shield. The FDA's warning does not merely close a chapter on a bogus cure, it opens a new one where false promises can be exposed and, when necessary, penalized. As the investigation into Tarun Singh's murder proceeds, the court's acknowledgement of the FDA's declaration may become a precedent, one that signals to every would-be charlatan that the legal system is ready to call out health fraud as a form of manipulation. In the next segment, we'll examine how other unapproved cancer remedies have been linked to criminal activity, and what steps regulators worldwide are taking to prevent another tragedy like this from slipping through the cracks. Putting your faith in science isn't merely a personal quirk, it's a shield that protects the whole community. When we lean on hard-won data to steer our health choices, we keep false hope at bay and help stop misinformation from rippling through society. Sure, cow urine extracts showed a modest cytotoxic punch in Petri dishes, but no clinical trial has ever demonstrated a cure. Source: PubMed. That leap from bench curiosity to bedside reality is exactly why regulators such as the FDA flag these products as unapproved and potentially unsafe. Source: FDA. If we sideline science, the weight lands squarely on the most vulnerable: patients yearning for a cure, families scrambling to cover costs, and a health system stretched thin by unproven tricks. The WHO nudges us to remember that any traditional remedy has to earn its stripes with solid evidence before it can be touted for serious diseases like cancer. Source: WHO. Even India's Ministry of Ayush concedes that cow urine has cultural roots, yet it makes it crystal clear: it isn't approved for any disease, let alone cancer. Source: Ayush. The Guardian's deep dive fact check drives the point home. There's no credible science backing the claim that cow urine cures cancer, and the hype is mostly fueled by commercial motives. Source: The Guardian. When we sift through the evidence, we're honoring a shared duty to channel resources toward therapies that actually work and keep patients from chasing wild myths. So right now more than ever, I'm asking you to step up as an active fact checker. If a headline shouts about a miracle cure, take a breath, dig into the primary literature, and stack the claim up against sources you trust. Keep an eye on the rolling Tarun case updates. The Oncologist's take is a vivid reminder that even well-meaning doctors can get led astray without rock-solid data. Staying in the loop lets you help build a culture where truth, not hype, steers health choices. If that hits home for you, help the conversation grow. Give this video a thumbs up if you champion evidence-based health, hit subscribe so you never miss a deep dive on another claim, and drop a comment with a claim you've dug into. Your engagement fuels a community that calls out misinformation and lifts science as the compass for personal and societal well-being. Let's keep the dialogue alive, because each question we pose, each source we verify, nudges us toward a future where health decisions are rooted in truth.